Hey everybody, it's the Modern Native. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most important things when it comes to wilderness survival, and it is actually picking the perfect location for your campsite, whether that's a tent or a shelter. We're going to dive right in, so stay tuned. When it comes to picking that perfect site, what you want to focus on, the first thing is the terrain. You want to avoid low-lying areas, or like right here, this would seem like a good spot, but you have to avoid the water flow that's going to come down and collect here because there's multiple points, like back there, right here, and over here, that's going to all flow down into this area and collect. If you set up your shelter here, you're going to be swimming before the morning's out if there's even a light rain. When you're picking your spot and you find the perfect terrain, you got to make sure that it isn't negated by the second factor, which is hazards. So if you see trees that are leaning on a slight hillside, you don't want to put your shelter down here and have that fall down on top of you. Other hazards such as flooding, insect nests, or animal burrows. You want to try to avoid them because it's going to increase activity and put you more in their environment, causing issues while camping or your food. You also want to make sure that you pick a good spot that is near your resources. Now, if you're going to be setting up a shelter, actually making a bushcraft shelter, you're going to need to make sure you're around logs, sticks, debris, things like that that are real close so you can actually get all that you need with minimal amount of effort. And like I said, with low-lying areas, if you look right there, that is a low-lying spot that is actually fed into in multiple areas with a hill. They will get flooded out. So unfortunately, that homeless guy is going to have a rough time trying to camp there. But lessons learned. Along with being close to resources such as branches, logs, debris, etc., you want to make sure that you're within a reasonable distance to your water sources. If there isn't a, pump, a hose, a spigot, and you've got to use a natural source, you want to make sure that you're not 200, 300, 400, 500 yards out and you've got to hike out every day, unless you're someone who's conservative with your water usage and probably not a large group, unless you obviously break up those responsibilities. Now in a spot like this, where you can see we're at an elevated point, it's a good spot. You got to worry about a little drainage here, but you can see it'll actually divert down the hill, both directions. Up here, your best spot would be right here. The reason for that, see the divot? Flow. You can actually see the water flow on the ground if you pay attention. And you can see those signs. This is going to get all swamped out because it's right here. It's the hard packed trail. Trails do not let water soak through. There's no drainage on trails. It becomes a creek. So always be mindful to be off the trail. There's drainage here. There's padding here. You could scrape this stuff up and make a nice little spot to be at. When picking your location, it is crucial. When you're picking your spot, one of the next factors that you got to think about is going to be wind direction. You can tell with prevailing winds generally by which direction trees are leaning, which direction bushes are pushed. You can generally tell before you're even experiencing wind which way the wind generally comes in that environment. Always position your opening away from that so that way you don't get that harsh breeze. It doesn't tear apart your door or blow smoke into your shelter. Now, if you're stealth camping, I know you want to be concealed, you want to be hidden, everything else, but unless you are specifically trying to hide from detection, you should try to make sure that there are some markers or something up, a flare, which what I mean by a flare is a bright piece of cloth or something near your camp to let people know that you are camping there, that it can be seen from a distance so people can actually find you if you are no longer responding. Also consider sun exposure. Having your shelter set up in an east-west orientation would let the sun pass around you so that way you can get the sunlight in the morning to try to warm things up, but in the harsh afternoon it's going to hit the backside of your shelter, so it's not actually going to affect you as bad and you can stay cooler. It takes experience, it takes some failures, and it's just a learning process when it comes to trying to find that perfect spot, that perfect location to go camping, setting up your shelter or whatever. So during this process, try to use these factors to go through a little checklist about if this is a good spot or not. It'll make your outdoor adventures that much more enjoyable. And remember, until next time, get out there, be a native, go beast.